17. Brain, epitome of the universe. All the material wealth created by man is a realistic reflection of man's brain. Man's thinking, memory, speech, and actions are all attributes of human brain. That a society can be organically united to accomplish a goal is also the result of brain activity. All Nobel Prize winners and great men in history distinguish themselves from others because they have made full use of their brains. Scientists are still far, far away from uncovering the mystery of brain, although they have made intensive researches into the brain in the fields of neurology, anatomy, biology, biochemistry, and electromagnetism, and have had detailed explanations for the structure of brain and functions of different components. It can be said that man is still at the infancy as for the understanding of the brain. Our knowledge of the brain is comparable to the part of an iceberg above the water, and what remains unknown can be likened to the gigantic mass underwater. Like the mystery of the universe, the mystery of human brain is a non-repeating infinite circumference ratio. Although we have known that the brain consists of 10 billion brain cells and 10 trillion interacting nerves, that the nerve network of brain is 10 miles long and can process a billion units of information per second, and that the memory capacity of brain is 1.2 million times that of a large-scale computer, the brain, which accounts for 3% of body weight, has still unlimited contents. The brain is the epitome of the universe, and the laws of the brain match the laws of the universe. The brain is the epitome of the greatest creator's wisdom. The brain contains all the wisdom of the greatest creator. The brain is the epitome of time. The brain owns the information on the changes of the universe over several billions of years. The brain is a processing factory which can create things out of nothing and can transform the universe. What is imaginable in the brain can all turn to reality. The brain's potential is unlimited, therefore man's future is also unlimited, as long as man does not go to extremes but keep in line with the greatest creator. The brain is a supernatural place. Each neuron of the brain is not in direct contact with each other. The information between neurons is transferred by neurotransmitters, which is chemical in nature. However, within the neurons, the transmission of information is through electrical impulse. When we open up a neurocranium, what we can see are only things in biological senses. We cannot help asking, where is the memory kept? Where is the thought kept? How does man's thought come into being? Where is man's memory stored? How does the brain process the large amount of complicated information? Why can man make spacecraft and land the moon, while a donkey cannot make even a small cart to carry fodder? Don't people say that all the creatures are in the process of evolution? The brain is not only capable of imagery thinking but also capable of abstract thinking. It can not only learn but can also practice. It can associate closely not only with the material world but also with the non-material world. Most of the scenes in our dreams are not absolutely the real image of the contemporary time-space, but the scenes in the past or even future time-space, or even the real image of another time-space. How does the brain work its way out? How do our sensibilities such as joy, anger, sadness, merriment, panic, trepidation, and yearning occur? How does the brain distinguish and correctly handle them? How do we instantly recognize the tastes of sourness, sweetness, bitterness, spiciness, and saltiness? How does the brain react to them? We have the senses of pain, itching, tingling, sore, swelling, acerbity, slippery, jumping, hard, soft, cold, heat, cool, and warm. How does the brain recognize these senses and pass on the information to related department? The love between man and woman is intoxicating. We are ecstasy when sexual excitement reaches climax. How does the brain perceive these and respond? How does the brain come into being if it is not the careful design by the greatest creator? Can such a fantastic and intricate structure take shape naturally? Can it have evolved from a single-celled microorganism? 18. Gene, a sealed book of life. Gene is the structure and mansion of life. It is the general term for the special nucleotide sequences with genetic effect in DNA molecules. The resemblance of children to their parents is caused by the reproductive function of genes, which pass on the genetic information to the next generation. The different gene structures account for why the white race is white race, black race is black race, yellow race is yellow race, dog is dog, and rose is rose. Gene constitutes part of DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, and accounts for only 2% to 4% of total mass of DNA. A molecular chain composed of phosphate and sugar, DNA is double helix in structure, namely two mutually stranded helixes of molecules, connected in the middle by the crossband called basic group. Scientific studies showed there are about 30,000 human genes, each gene possessing 14 different versions on average. Human genome contains about 42,000 gene versions. The birth, growth, decline, and death of life is regulated by genes. Over 8,000 known human diseases are related to genes. The natural healing of the wounds in animals and plants is the result of genes' endeavor to retain their own perfect structures. Scientific exploration and research showed that there are 1 trillion cells in human body and that in each cell there are 23 pairs of chromosomes and in each chromosome there are 30 billion base pairs. If all the chromosomes in the human body are linked head to tail, the total length will be more than 600 times the distance between the Earth and the Sun. If all the information of a chromosome is written down, it will fill up a 200,000-page phone book. The difference of chromosomes between individuals is only 0.1%. The comparison of the gene sequences of any two individuals reveals that 99.9% of the gene sequences are the same. The differences between the billions of people on Earth today are attributed to the 0.1% gene difference. What functions do the majority, 97%, of chromosomes within the human genomes have remains a mystery. Gene is a sealed book of life. Human Genome Project has involved the top science and technology talents in most advanced technological equipment of America, England, Japan, Germany, France, and China. After more than a decade's hard work, do we finally see the basic framework of the mansion of life, gene. However, it seems to me that we have only understood 0.1% of 0.1% of the functions and secrets of other structures in this basic framework. Shouldn't we think that gene is the fruit of the wisdom of the greatest creator? Can such an intricate structure come into being without the greatest creator? Some people would stick to their theory of natural happening. Then please tell me what happening naturally means. 19. The wonder of the great variety of life. Exhibiting its fantastic luster, life of myriad forms as far as one can see is presented everywhere from the tropic zone, temperate zones, frigid zones, to north and south poles, from plains and canyons to precipitous cliffs, from the underground, the Earth's surface to the sky, from small creeks and ponds to rivers, lakes and oceans. With their insignificant sizes but astronomical numbers, bacteria, actinomycete, epiphyte, microzyme, lactobacillus, viruses, and other microorganisms present a dazzling world of life under the microscopes. A million species of insects are exhibiting a gorgeous and bizarre world of life. More than 9,000 species of birds are flying in the sky. The agile and flexible and valiant bearing and varying beautiful shapes have inspired us to yearn for freedom and future, causing our thoughts to soar to the distant horizons. Countless fishes, shrimps, shell creatures, and other marine animals have constituted a fantastic and unimaginable underwater kingdom of life. We marvel at and are amazed and puzzled by hundreds of thousands of large terrestrial animal species with widely differing means. Rushing or leaping, running or climbing, they exhibit their strong and vigorous bearing and their respective skills for survival. With the change of seasons, more than 100,000 species of flowers vie with beautiful girls in their riotous profusion of colors, enchanting and attractive. From the creepy lichens to the tall and straight redwoods, from the float grass swaying in the wind to the meandering kudzu vines, from medlar to loquat, from mulberry to coconut. The magical forms of the vegetable kingdom are so wonderful that they excel the work of nature. We cannot help asking, how do the riotous profusion of wonders of life come into being? Without tissues, organs, brains, and hearts, how can those single-celled monads capture and digest food, excrete feces, move freely, build houses, and have sex? Who has equipped insects with armors? Who has armed the birds with wings? Who has covered the beautiful clothes for flowers? Who has equipped man with heart? Who else but the greatest creator? 20. The protection mechanism of life, conditioned reflex. What is conditioned reflex? It was a rainy autumn day in 1980. I was looking out of the closed window of a classroom in the Geological Technical School of Zhangjiago. Suddenly a classmate called Chung Hongfu from Sichuan mischievously spitted at me from outside the window. Subconsciously I stepped backward, closing both eyes instantly. This chain of reactions triggered the burst of laughter of Chung Hongfu, who said jestingly, "Monitor, what a coward you are. The window is closed. How can I spit on your face?" I said I did not realize that the window was closed. Do it one more time and I will not react. I moved closer to the window, thinking that since the window was closed and he could not reach me, I would remain calm even if he spitted blood to me. Are you ready?" Before he had finished speaking, he had spitted to me. "Ha ha, monitor, you closed your eyes again." My eyes indeed closed at that moment. Later I tried a few times more. Still my eyes would not listen to my command. Every time he spitted, I involuntarily winked my eyes. Later at the classes of physiology and psychology, I came to know that this involuntary physiological reaction is called conditioned reflex. Pavlov even conducted an experiment on dog. The feeding of dogs was always accompanied by the ringing of bells. After some time the dogs' mouths watered when they heard the bells, even before the food was brought in front of them. Why did this happen? It is because the ringing of bells has become a signal for food for dogs and a conditioned stimulus. The dog's prompt physiological and psychological reaction to this stimulus is called conditioned reflex. In the chapter, Drinking Wine and Rating the Heroes of the novel Romances of Three Kingdoms, Chow Chow related a story to Liu Bei. "The green plums on the branch I saw just now in the garden reminds me of last year's fight against Zhang Xiao. We were running short of water through the long march then. The army could not put up with the thirst. Suddenly an idea came to me. 'There is a plum grove ahead,' I cried and pointed with my riding whip." Having heard this and thinking of the sour green fruits, their mouths watered and they did not feel thirsty anymore. Because of the conditioned reflex, the troops of Chow Chow secreted saliva when hearing plums. There are endless examples of conditioned reflex. Poke at the crawling caterpillar with your hand or a stick and it will immediately curl up into a circle. The abnormal behaviors of animals prior to an earthquake, mimosas curling of leaves when touched, the palpitation of heart induced by a sudden sound at a quiet night, the contraction of muscles at the sight of a snake, the sneezes caused by the entrance of specks, the erection of penis and the secretion of lubricating mucus in the vagina when watching pornographic videos, the tightening of muscles and the flush of the face at the thought of one's enemy, the trembling of the mouth and the shivering of the body in times of fear and tension, the spontaneous resistance when encountered sudden attack, inexplicable twitching of the eyelids, flush of ears, palpitation, and twittering of muscles, all these are results of conditioned reflex. Why is there conditioned reflex in animals and plants? Whether we make explanations in the psychological perspective or the physiological angle, apart from the conditioned reflex acquired as second nature, the innate instinctive conditioned reflex can in no way be created by the plants and animals themselves. The function of conditioned reflex is mainly life's instinctive protection of itself and a subconscious instant reaction. Who has designed this? Who but the greatest creator? 21. The pleasure of sex is not only to carry on the family line. The core point of the pleasure-different sex is the orgasm of sexual intercourse. None of the first love, the adoration, the yearning, the dates, the caressing, and other emotional enjoyment can compare with the orgasm of sex. Then what is orgasm of sexual intercourse? To help us understand the feeling of orgasm between male and female, I have selected some sections from Kinsey Reports, Hattie Report on Sex, and especially Sex Codes China Reports. I am feeling like heaven. I have a blurry sense of giddiness, the thrilling and exciting warmth, fullness, humidness, and force. A sense of urgency, an irresistible sense of pulling. I feel extremely excited and short of breath. Meanwhile, I feel my head is lifting up as if in dream, the sound is vague and far, time seems still. Gratification, conviviality, excited, thrilled, I am beside myself with pleasure. I feel terrific as if I am at my best. I feel like awakening and a beginning of life. The feeling is incomparably wonderful, it is an ecstasy almost unbearable to human power. Charming, surging blood, carefree, ecstasy, orgasm, unparalleled wonder, intoxicating, full of power, incredible. In some aspects, arousal of sexuality offers me opportunity to transcend myself and wake up from the dense fog of daily life and existence. I feel as if I have left my flesh and my spirit, caring for nothing that normally seems extremely important to me. Wonderful feeling of caresses, I wish this could go on forever. My life is motionless, as if in a momentary eternity, feeling the intense combination of flesh in a state of ecstasy. A fantastic sensation, I myself is in another dimension which drifts and melts from the supporting point of my life. A raging flame, violent and engulfing everything. Extremely fantastic. A refreshing and irresistible orgasm is increasing to such an extent that an intense charge surges around the clitoris, just like a space-exploring rocket shooting up explosively. Then the charge radiate in the entire region of my pubes. At this moment, all other things have vanished from my consciousness. It seems that the inside of me is filled with enormous power. The wetness, the heat, and the intensity make me feel incomparably comfortable. During the whole process, all the raging wonderful feelings are radiating in the internal side of my legs. It seems that all things around me have ceased their existence. I am completely immersed in this wonderful feeling. By far I have not experienced a more wonderful feeling than this. This feeling is a complete immersion that has nothing to do with will and thought. It has completely conquered me, occupying my body. As for the overall effect of its destructiveness, the best word to describe this physiological feeling is madly carefree. The only feeling I can relate is certain form of overall stiffness and tightness and the indistinguishable internal explosion at the sexual organs. My body gradually tightens up. I feel as if I have reached the precipitous peak of perfect happiness, then I approach the plateau of ecstasy, I utter a sharp scream, glide past the crest plane of bliss, then I experience 5 or 6 fits of violent twitches and convulsions, which are acute, vehement, and agitating in the beginning and become duller, slower, and milder. This is the orgasm in sexual pleasure. We can discover from the above description that the physiological and psychological feelings at the time of orgasm are the incomparable large charge and the consummation of beauty. No wonder Bangu commented in Book of Han Dynasty, Iwanji, sex is the greatest of the feelings and is the natural principle. Sex is magical, mysterious, and supernatural, according to Jared Diamond, a physiology professor at Los Angeles campus of California University, who said, "Human sex is weird. The pleasure of sex is so wonderful, so ecstatic, and intoxicating that Freud has drawn the conclusion that the driving force of sex is the greatest power propelling the social development." Then who has created such a wonderful feeling of mankind? Is sexual orgasm also a result of natural evolution? Is sex pleasure purely for the purpose of carrying on the family line? A graduate student of Indiana State University R. Stephen Howard said, "In terms of the energy needed, asexual reproduction is a more economical way to transmit genes to one's progeny." Then how did sexual reproduction come into being? Is sex pleasure simply for bearing children? The answer is negative. The prostitutes engage in prostitution are not to bear a child for the man of pleasure, and latter does not aim for the prostitutes to bear some children for them either. Human wisdom can make a master machine. Products can be constantly produced from a streamline. Then why cannot the greatest creator make a matrix that continuously produce offspring? The pleasure of sex is purely for the enjoyment of life, and this is the universal love of the greatest creator. As for the propagation of offspring, it is only the byproduct of the pleasure of sex. In addition, asexual reproduction will completely pass the diseases carried by the gene onto the future generation. Through the copulation of both sexes, the diseases carried by genes can be remitted or even eliminated. The advantage of crossbreeding is self-evident. Therefore, a race may go extinct without sex life. Thus, the pleasure of sex is the arrangement of the greatest creator. Sex life conforms to the decree of the greatest creator. Sex inhibition is a reverence for the greatest creator. We should have sex life and enjoy it too. Else sex life should accompany us to the other shore of life. It is unreasonable to suppress, inhibit, and destroy sex life because it is against human nature to do so. Why should we refrain what the greatest creator has created? There is no such thing as debauchery and dissipation in the matter of sex life. The more, the better. There is nothing reproachable about mu-zi-mei phenomenon. If Lin Dayu in A Dream of Ret Mansion had experienced an orgasm, she would not have such a miserable ending. Does this mean that Life Chanyuan is against Christianism and Buddhism? The 7th precept of 10 Commandments is, "You shall not commit adultery." Sections 28 and 29 of Matthew say, "But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell." In volume of Buddhist Surangama Sutra, The Stage of Bodhisattva Faith, the first rule is dry wisdom. Ananda, these virtuous men will dry up their sensual desire and disengage their organs from sense data. This withering of causes stops the growth of karma. The clinging mind is now empty and clear, being but unmixed wisdom which is perfect and bright by nature, illumining all worlds in the 10 directions. This realization of wisdom is called the stage of dry wisdom because they have cut off their sensual habits but have not yet entered the Tathagata's Dharma stream. Even if you have acquired wisdom and concentration, you would only degenerate into the devil's groups, higher class fiend, middle class demon, and lower class hag. Your flocks of devils have also gathered a mob of followers, each claiming to have cultivated the heavenly way. After my cessation with the dominance of unorthodox laws, more and more such evil persons prevail in the world. They are greedy for lasciviousness and adept at knowledge. As a result, all mortal beings are addicted to secular love and lose the way to supreme enlightenment. Jesus is God, and Sakyamuni is Buddha. Their profound wisdom is beyond us mortals, and their teachings are invaluable treasures to our life. Jesus instructs us in divinity. Following the supreme road of life guided by Jesus, we can enter the kingdom of the God. Sakyamuni enlightens us from the perspective of Buddhism. If we want to attain Buddhahood, we must break with lewdness, not only physiologically but also psychologically. Just like the teachings of Jesus, you have already committed adultery even if you only have harbored the lustful desire. Christianism is the religion of God, and Buddhism is the religion of Buddha. The two religions have made indelible contributions to mankind. Through them we have come to know the road to supreme life space. It is the primary task of Life Chanyuan to make Jesus and Sakyamuni an integrated part of our life. If the path of human development is comparable to a 3-story building, then Christianism will be on the top level, Buddhism at the middle, and Life Chanyuan will be at the bottom. In terms of the level of life, Buddhism transcends human nature and guides people directly to Elysium world of the West, Elysium world in the 36th dimension space. To board this ship, one must go through dry wisdom. Ignorant as I am now, I have no idea which level of life Christianism will lead people to. Judging by Jesus' road to divinity and teachings, he will make an angel of everyone and lead them into the celestial world, the paradise of gods. In 12:18-25 Gospel of Mark, Jesus said, "For when they rise from the dead, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven." What is angel? Angel is the goddess and Buddha with divinity. Buddha is under the control of the power of Buddha, while goddess is the free, elegant, and magically powerful spiritual entity of high energy, second only to God. Christianity guides people to develop in the direction of goddesses, which conforms to Jesus' teachings. Only in this way can they have a definite development direction for life space. However, from the activities and pursuits of Christians, it seems that they are still clinging to worldly affairs, to the relations of parents, children, couple, and friends and relatives, and to private properties, which is unreasonable. In 14:26 Luke's Gospel, Jesus said, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple." Because if you don't hate them, you cannot become an angel. For angels, there is nothing like family love. We can see from the teachings of Jesus and Sakyamuni that the ultimate wisdoms are communicable. They have the same purpose. Buddhists are capable to determinately cut off all their attachments to worldly affairs, including the relations of father, mother, wife, children, brothers, sisters, belongings, status, reputation, and their own souls. They will commit themselves to self-cultivation and self-refining wholeheartedly. They are the real Christians. However, the so-called Christians may inspire the suspicion of crying up wine but selling vinegar. The direction of development for us mankind is the direction given by Jesus and Sakyamuni. The problem is, however, there is a vast ocean between man and angel, goddess, and Buddha. How can we sail the boat of life, tide over the tempestuous and turbulent ocean, and reach the ideal shore? If we can give up worldly pursuits and dedicate wholeheartedly to cultivation like the Buddhist nuns, monks, clergies, and nuns in the monasteries and temples, so much the better. Although it is extremely difficult to ascend the heaven at a single step, it will be worthwhile anyway. The problem is, can we do so? Let's just drop all other obstacles. How many of us can surmount the huge mountain of the pleasure of sex? I have still another question. Why should we surmount this huge mountain now that the greatest creator has equipped the structure of the pleasure of sexes inside us to enjoy the pleasure of man? The wonderful feeling of orgasm, the feeling of entering the paradise, the feeling of celestial being and intoxication, the release and proliferation of love, the standstill of time and space, the feeling of being blended into the universe, and the expectation to give up all worldly desire and stay forever at that time point. Aren't these the highest realm of life we have been pursuing? Our ultimate goal is to become angels, goddess, and Buddha. It would be too difficult for ordinary people to jump from the starting point to the end point, unless they are born with the wisdom of an angel, just like my granny, who was a vegetarian by birth. Not because of her personal preference, but because of her feeling of disgust at the smell of fish and meat. To enter the graduate school directly from primary school is a process of transcending comparable to the thorough remolding of oneself in reaching the peak of perfection. It is just too difficult. Then are there any smoother paths to the final success of becoming a goddess and Buddha? Yes, there are. Let's first arrive at the 1,000-year world, because the enjoyment of the pleasure of sexes will only affect our success of becoming a goddess and Buddha and does not prevent us from approaching the 1,000-year world. Please look at the 1,000-year world of 36-dimension space. Although it is still hundreds of thousands of miles away from the kingdom of goddess and Buddha, the 1,000-year world is after all the world with sublimated human nature. We can first arrive at the 1,000-year world before reaching the 10,000-year world and finally make it to the world of goddess and Buddha, the Elysium world. This is comparable to a primary school pupil who pursues his education in the order of primary school, middle school, university, and finally the graduate school. Let's return to our topic. The pleasure of sex is the arrangement of the greatest creator and the favor he has granted to man. The greatest creator will not punish us as long as we are grateful to him and remember his grace when enjoying the pleasure of sex. I have seen the greatest creator from the pleasure of sex. Have you? 22. The masterpiece of the greatest creator, beauty of nature. When learning Introduction to Literature, we were told by the teacher we are surrounded with beauty. The reason that we have failed to discover beauty is that we lack the eyes to perceive beauty. In 1986, I went to Mandarin Duck Reservoir in Jinta County with my classmates of Jiuquan Education College. We got off the bus on the road from Jiuquan City to Jinta County. Just guess what my first impression is. I felt the beauty of relaxation and happiness for becoming part of Mother Nature, because what met our eyes as soon as we got off the bus was the vast expanse of endless Gobi Desert. It seemed that we city dwellers had entered another world of wildness, wonder, remoteness, and vastness. All of us cried with one voice, "Wow, beautiful!" How can we say that the Gobi Desert is not beautiful? When I climbed the Great Wall at Badaling during my study at Beijing Foreign Trade University, I saw the meandering Great Wall fly like gigantic dragon on the top of the undulating mountains. I felt a beauty of valiancy, unrestrained freedom, and flying. During my study at Zhangjiago Geology Technical School, I used to go climbing with my classmates. Standing on the mountain top and overlooking the wilderness with curling smokes beyond the Great Wall, I felt a beauty of serenity, leisureliness, composure, and ease induced by the picturesque natural scenery. When learning in Lansao Education College, I would sit by the Yellow River whenever I have the opportunity. Since I grew up by the Yellow River, I have a special love for it. Watching the surging and rolling river flow in its meandering course, I felt that my thinking has been carried to a remote place, and I was filled with the aesthetic feeling of surging emotions and endless yearnings. In the small islands of Luanda, the capital of Angola, and the Bella port of Mozambique, on the beach of Dar es Salaam, the capital of Tanzania, in Chanya Haijiao of China's Hainan Island, in the Cape of Good Hope of South Africa's Cape Town. Everywhere the azure sky and sea elicits in me an aesthetic sense of mystery, fantasy, eternity, and infinity. There is the world-famous Victoria waterfall on the river of Zambezi between Zambia and Zimbabwe. I used to drive the 6-ton truck of Chinese Jefong truck to fetch water from there. Each time I approached it, I was overwhelmed by its tumbling heroism. Its vigorous momentum, mountain-shaking power, thunderous rumbling, and dragons soaring, and the numerous rainbows among the waterfall created a dreamlike aesthetic feeling of dauntlessness and unrestraint. Harare is a garden-esque city, and Zimbabwe is a green country. Here birds sing and flowers bloom all the year round. Everywhere you can see luxuriant and green foliages. For years I wandered about among the green mountains and rivers. Under the blue sky and white clouds, the trees, flowers, and grass are extremely beautiful. I have not been to Prairie, but a dance I learned at middle school has always been lingering in my mind. The dance sings praise of the prairie of Hulumber in Inner Mongolia, the galloping courser, the herds of sheep, the drifting white clouds in the blue sky, and clusters of small flowers dotting the endless stretch of Greenland. In my imagination, the prairie is refreshing and intoxicating, and I long for it. The Gobi Desert, the mountains and fields, the rivers and oceans, the creeks and waterfalls, the blue sky and white clouds, the flowers, grass and trees, all are beautiful. The prairie in imagination is also very beautiful. The starlight across the sky, the morning and evening glows, the hovering eagles, the dancing butterflies, the grapes on the vines, the mouth-licking melons and fruits, the exquisitely carved dews, the frogs croaking, the insects' choruses, the birds twittering, the horses neighing, and even mirage, the nature is filled with exotic beauty everywhere. Nature is beautiful and man is more beautiful. I have not seen the 4 ancient beauties in China, neither have I studied at someone carefully. I have, however, appreciated numerous Western beauties from internet, especially naked beauties. I have been deeply influenced by Buddhism, Christianity, and Confucianism, but the beauties are so pretty that they cause the complete collapse of my moral defense line. The temptation of beauty is so powerful. It makes people intoxicated and thrilled. Sometimes I imagine them to be the painted skins, Hua Pai, in stories from a strange studio, which will suck my marrow and blood, pull out my tendon, and skin me alive. I also know that a beauty of 18 is soft and tender. Her charm is as sharp a sword that chopped the ordinary man. Although the man may look the same, unknowingly his marrow is sucked clean and dry. However, by nature I have a strange inclination for beauty which is so strong that I wish I were melted in. Shall we turn a deaf ear and blind eye to beauty? If beauty can cause our downfall, so can the beauty of nature. Aren't they the same? The earnest and tireless teachings of Jesus and Sakyamuni keep ringing in my ears. On the other hand, beauty is bewitching me with its irresistible force. I have been plunged into the deep misery and desperation. Why is this? I meditate, I repent, I hate myself, and I pity myself. What should I do? I cannot but look for the greatest creator, pleading for a definite answer. Who has bestowed the beauty for everything? If a man has no other purpose than mere survival, he will need nothing more than a kennel and a basin of pig's feed. Why should everything be given a beautiful look? I have finally got the answer. The beauty of everything has been created by the greatest creator, who has intended us to enjoy the beauty of life. Now that the respected greatest creator of the universe has offered us beauty, what need is there for us to act against the will of the greatest creator and view beauty as a dreadful disaster? Then is Jesus wrong? Is Buddha Sakyamuni wrong? No, not at all. Honey is sweet, but if we cannot extricate ourselves from it, we may put our life and wonderful future at stake, which is quite unworthy. We have to listen to the painstaking advice of God and Buddha. Nevertheless, now that all beauty has been created by the greatest creator, we are entitled to enjoy beauty. All beauty should be shared and should not be privatized. Everyone is greedy and exclusive by nature. When he himself cannot possess certain beauty, he will try every means to decry beauty and prevent others from enjoying the beauty. I praise to you, all the beautiful men and women, and through you, I praise the greatest creator. The internet beauties, for you the road to paradise and Elysium have been closed. Then, let me lead you to the 1,000-year world. You have shown your beauty to the world and the public. You are not monsters, neither are you sprite. But remember, your beauty is given by the greatest creator. You should always remember the favor of the greatest creator, and always feel indebted to him and love him. However, it will be another story if you do evils by your beauty. Beauty is the masterpiece of the greatest creator. The existence of beauty is the best evidence for the existence of the greatest creator. 23. The bright